My girlfriend just made me a pumpkin and put flowers in it.
Oh, yeah,
So cute.
I made that in about 5 minutes.
You did?
Oh, and I shoved it on the,
Inside?
no, it's not even cut. It's
Oh,
a
it's
piece of
just on top.
Yeah.
Okay, George. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. I am Lorraine Montalbano. I am the founder and co-chair of Adult Children of Aging Parents in Bergen County. We do monthly programs to help educate you as an adult caregiver and also for yourself, and also provide resources for you and a sense of community that you know you're not the only one going through this. So we have a few of my team members here with me, and we're going to be, so please, if you want to be on our email address, I think if you're registered, you will automatically be on the email address. You'll meet us monthly, usually at the Paramus Library. But tonight, we're so grateful for Harmony Village for letting us do this wonderful program here. So Annette, would you like to introduce our presenters?
Sure. So welcome to Harmony Village. We are a 81 apartment memory care community, assisted living for people with memory. They're very mild, I like to call them pleasantly confused, and we can manage all the way to end of life care, which kind of brings us and everything in between. So we're really happy to have you all join us. So I don't know if you want to.
I think, yeah, this is, we're gonna be doing like Q&As, you're gonna go over what you do, and then followed by a lot of Q&As, because I'm sure you're gonna have a lot of questions as well. Yeah.
So we're great that you came. So two presenters today. We have, who's going first? Do you know?
Oh, I'm not on the,
Okay.
yeah, I think
Marie's
Yeah.
who's attorney, and she'll tell you a little bit more, but expert in elder law, of course. And Kim, who is works with Ascend, who and you can tell them.
We do hospice and palliative care, but I will explain all shortly.
And today it's really about doing your planning in a very easy kind of way. So, okay.
Very good.
Should I move that back? Can everyone see me? Because I
You want me
can't
to
see
move
on
it?
because of the phone. Hi. How are you?
Isn't this beautiful?
Yeah.
Yes, Marion over there, she made it. She did a good job.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Marie Helmy, as they very kindly introduced me. I'm an attorney at what used to be Michael Mann and Associates, been there for about 51 years. I have not been there for 51 years. I'm not yet 51 years old, but I have been there for about 22 years. And this is really all I do. It's all we do as a firm. So we're 5 attorneys, 4 paralegals. We exclusively do elder law, estate planning, guardianships, trusts, estate litigation, kind of this little intersection where family and care and money and all that kind of intersect. Everyone's got a little niche there. I used to do Medicaid applications before I was an attorney, so that's my experience might be more alongside of finance questions, but today we're talking about documents you should have in advance. And we can talk about wills, although it's not so relevant, so I'll just say quickly, everyone should have a will. Things people don't know about wills that they really should be aware of is number 1, the original's the only thing that matters. If the original cannot be found and upon your death, it's presumed you destroyed it, you didn't want it anymore, that's a biggie. We have a lot of court cases just because the original, no one knows where it is, or the copy that someone had, we all thought was the original, but it wasn't, and then things get really ugly. So keep that in mind. In terms of something one thing, if I could say one thing about wills that I want to make sure everybody knows is if there is a spouse somebody is leaving something to, and they need care or may need care in the future, we have some reason to think that we may not want them getting everything. We typically you can put inside of a will like a special needs trust or a supplemental needs trust, and that's really powerful sometimes. If something's going to a disabled child. I had a case today where simple will, everything was going to all the kids equally. However, one of them is in rehab right now. They have an addiction, and the rehab is covered by the government benefits that the person was on, but now they get this inheritance, and now not only are they no longer eligible for that rehab that only took that kind of healthcare insurance, but now we are also in a position where their inheritance, which the parents intended was to make the child's life a little better, is all gonna go up in scope to reimburse the government for the cost of care. So we wanna make sure if there's a surviving spouse or a disabled child or anyone that might be inheriting that might need care either now or in the future, that it's really important for people to set up their wills. A lot of times as caregivers, we kind of forget about what happens if we pass because we're so focused on the other person, but it's really important to plan from that angle also. I would like to talk to you guys enough about death. Let's talk about life. So what happens when we are, we're a nice small group, so I might, pop quiz you guys, so feel free to volunteer if you don't want to be picked on. What happens when somebody is alive but cannot make decisions for themselves? Does anyone know what might give somebody else the authority?
Durable power of attorney.
Power of attorney. But power of attorney, we need a financial one and then a medical one. Back in the day, people used to do one for everything and put everything in together. It's not wrong, it's just not good practice because I know for myself, the person I want making my financial decisions is not the person I want making my medical decisions, and you can pick different people. But a financial power of attorney is important and allows someone to act on your behalf. A lot of people think, well, my name is on the account too, so I'm fine, I don't need that. Or my name's on the house also, I don't need a power of attorney. True or false? How many say true? If your name's on there, if I own a house jointly with my husband and he has a stroke and I need to sell it because I can't carry him up and down the steps, I want to sell it and buy a small 1-floor place. My name's on the house. Do I need a power of attorney?
Yes.
Yes. Smart bunch. Who says no, you don't need one because your name's on the house?
You tell me if my name's on the house? I think that overrides the power of attorney. No?
If your name is on the house jointly with somebody and you want to sell it, you cannot sell it because they have to sign off on it too.
But they're dead now.
So what I'm talking about is if they're alive and disabled.
Oh,
So
they're alive.
if they're in a coma or if
Okay,
they're paraplegic and they can't sign anything.
so then the power of
Still-
attorney will sign for them.
Correct. If there is a power of
Okay.
attorney. Now, what happens if we don't have a power of attorney? Who knows? I know Julie knows.
Guardianship.
Guardianship. Good. How many of us have dealt with a guardianship? How many of us thought it was really fun and easy and a walk in the park and everyone should do it? Guardianships are something we want to avoid, but sometimes it is inevitable. That's what we have to do if there is no power of attorney. Why? Well, if I don't have a right to act on somebody's behalf, so I'll pick on my husband again. So he goes skydiving, has an accident, becomes a paraplegic, and I don't have a power of attorney for him. So now I'm going to try to get authority to make decisions on his behalf via a court order. That's the inevitable alternative when we don't have a power of attorney. But now I'm telling a judge, hey judge, I'm a good person. Let me take control of his assets. Let me handle everything. I'll take his income, don't worry. Don't worry about a thing. In fact, I need to, qualify him for some benefits too. So let me have the right to take assets out of his name also and give it all to myself. How many judges are gonna take that lightly?
As a spouse, though, you're not, if you have joint accounts, your name's on everything,
Joint accounts are a little different. Joint accounts. Joint bank accounts say both of them own 100% together. So anyone can go to the bank and write a check for all of it, but you can't close it. You can't open it because you need two people. So in terms of access, each one has access, but technically it's not yours to go take, open, close. A lot of people assume that, well, if I'm a spouse, I have authority to access even without a guardianship, even without a power of attorney. People figure, well, my 19-year-old kid who's, I'm paying for their college, the college has no problem sending me the bill. Sure, I can get into their accounts, I can call the hospital, we're going into medical here, but I can call the hospital and find out, they were partying too hard, I can find out if they're okay or if I should come down, right? Like naturally we would think so, but no, you don't have any legal authority to do anything on somebody else's behalf unless you've been given that authority, either via power of attorney or guardianship. Judges do not take guardianships lightly, and it's not an easy process. So first of all, the person, you don't need an attorney, but typically, I'm sure a lot of people do it successfully without an attorney, but the cases that we see are people that either screwed up, couldn't do it, or, so I think most people use attorneys, but I don't know, I'm assuming. In any case, you get an attorney to represent you as the plaintiff, and then we need 2 doctors, a psychiatrist and a physician, to provide a report that this person is incapacitated, and typically they charge about $1,500 a doctor. Then we have to submit to the court these pleadings, which maybe you spent $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 on a lawyer to prepare that stuff in the first place. And then the judge has to make sure that this alleged incapacitated person is going to be well suited in your hands as the guardian. So then the court appoints their own attorney to represent the alleged incapacitated person. So cha-ching again. And then that attorney interviews you, provides something to the court. We need to serve all interested parties. We need to find them. I had a case where the closest relative was a niece who was a runaway, last seen in the 80s in Nevada. And the judges made us go through the ringer to do public service after we used genealogists to figure out where we need to do public. So the point is, you need to find all the interested parties. You need to serve them. Sometimes these people, the way families are now, a lot of people move a lot. People don't necessarily know all their family members anymore. Sometimes the people we're serving don't even know who this person is, but suddenly they're like, oh, wait a minute. If I don't approve this, there might be some money for me, or if I do approve this, there might be some money for me. So they get involved and things can really go crazy. But best case scenario, in Bergen County, you're talking at least 3 months. Passaic County is closer 6 to 9 months now. So point is, this is something we don't like. It is expensive. We want to avoid it. How do we avoid it? We get a power of attorney. Now, not all power of attorneys are created equal. Not in New Jersey. Unlicensed New York and New Jersey. New York did everyone a really nice favor. There is a state form that is a standardized form that everyone can download off the internet, check off the boxes. Attorneys can't really screw it up. It's all kind of there and the same. New Jersey is different. It's not a science, it's an art. And attorneys get to be crafty and write whatever they want in a power of attorney. And the courts have said since 2014 that even a power of attorney that says, I give you the right to do anything and everything I could possibly give you the right to do, is insufficient to allow you to do certain things. So now we got to figure out, what does this power of attorney say? What do I have the right to do? And unfortunately, people don't know what needs to be in there and what's not in there that should be in there until they're trying to use it. And when they're trying to use it, it's usually because the person is not competent, and it's sometimes too late to fix. So what I'm trying to tell you is it's not just important to have a power of attorney, it's important to have a good power of attorney that actually gives the powers we need it to give, because it only gives the power that's enumerated specifically in there. All right, I'll give you a quick example about this, just so it kind of hits home, because we do a lot of guardianships that hurt my heart because people really tried to do the right thing and they intended to do the right thing and it didn't work out for them. And those are cases I don't like doing. It was totally avoidable, and now it's costing them money and agony, and it's not a good way for us to make a living. I'd much rather be doing something to help people with something that they didn't, that they had to do, and not that they could have avoided. Anyway, point is, about 12 years ago, I was speaking at a Parkinson's support group at Wayne Public Library, and after this meeting, just like this, a gentleman and his daughter came up to me and said, you said the power of attorneys are not all the same. We did a power of attorney for my wife. Can you look at it, tell us if it's good? I said, sure, send it over to me. So they send it over to me. It's not sufficient. It has, very boilerplate language, and it's not going to give him the powers that he needed as a spouse. So he said, well, what do I do now? I said, well, is she competent? Does she know what's going on, your wife? It's like, oh yeah, she's great. It's just the Parkinson's is affecting her mobility, but she's fine. Like, all right, well, why don't you bring her in? Let me talk to her, and we'll do a new power of attorney. It's the easiest, quickest, cheapest thing you can do preemptively. So he brings her in. I don't know if he was in denial or if too much time had passed or what, but she's sitting at the table talking to us about how she just gave birth to George Clooney's kids, and he's outside waiting for her, and she really needed to leave. So clearly, the ship has sailed. She could not sign a new power of attorney. So he said, well, what do I do? I said, well, you're going to need to do a guardianship. He said, okay, how much is that going to cost? He really didn't have much money. He had a house. She had like an A&P pension for one A&P. Anyway, their primary asset was their house that was held jointly at his retirement account. He said, well, what do I do? Do I do a guardianship? I said, well, it's typically something you don't want to do unless you need to do it. Are we going to need to do it? Like, I don't know. When am I going to need to do it? I said, well, if you could not afford any home care, or if you needed to go to a facility and you couldn't pay for it, and we needed to get her on Medicaid, we would need a power of attorney that gave you the right to make gifts to yourself, because that's a power. If it's not specifically stated in there, you can't do it. And he's like, well, so do I do this now? I said, I'd hate for you to, all in, you're talking about 15 grand. I'd hate for you to do it for no good reason. So is she going to be home? How are things looking? He said, well, he had 2 adult children. One of them was, for lack of a better word, I'll say useless, and his words, not mine. He wasn't going anywhere. He was home helping take care of mom. That husband was retired. He's home taking care of mom. Daughter is on disability, home taking care of mom. So I said, the chances that you're going to really need help in the future are probably slim. However, if you need to do it, you're going to need to do it really quickly. And, I can't make that decision for you. I don't know what's going to help you sleep at night. Do you do this endeavor for no reason because one day she dies in her sleep and you did it all for no reason? Or do you not do it, and then he's like, well, this all sounds like it's going to be really expensive. I'm not going to do it. We should be okay at home. So that sounds like a good plan. 5 or 6 years pass. Husband has now developed problems in his knees, and he can no longer move her around. She has become dead weight, and they need 2 people to turn her and move her around. And the daughter, who was collecting disability, now physically also cannot help. So now we have 3 people. We need 2-person assist, and we don't have the second person. So they're trying to do what they can. She's sleeping in a recliner. They're doing all sorts of stuff. She has a fall. They aren't able to move her properly. She falls. She's on the floor. They could not get her up. They call the ambulance. At this point, she goes to Chilton Hospital. From Chilton Hospital, she goes to rehab, and the husband says, I can't do this anymore. Not only do I not feel so bad, because I'm not entirely sure she's even going to understand that she has moved, but on top of that, it's just not safe to take care of her anymore. We're trying to scooch her onto commodes from a recliner. It's a disaster. So what do I need to do? I need to do Medicaid? It's like, yeah, well, we need to get the house out of your name. Okay, so what do we have to do? We have to do a guardianship. Now, in the meantime, she has gone over to the nursing home. Nursing homes, as we all know, are very expensive. At this point, it was $11,000 or $12,000 a month, and that process took 3 to 4 months. So all that money gone, wasted on legal fees and doctor's fees, and the husband has to do an accounting every year. If anyone's done a guardianship, you have to do an accounting to show what you've done with the money, and all this gets really, really expensive. And what hurts me is that they tried to do the right thing. They had a power of attorney. And they said, well, can we sue the lawyer who did this document that didn't include the gifting provision, because naturally she would have wanted it in there. And I'd say, well, I'm not in the business of suing lawyers, but besides that, suing someone for some sort of malpractice means they've deviated from the standard. And at one point, we did a survey of all the power of attorneys that come into our door. 97% of them did not have it in there. So clearly it's not the standard for this to be in there. Why isn't it? I don't know. I think there's a lot more awareness now. Lawyers, most people, when they need something, I think they call the one lawyer that they know, who usually ends up being either a real estate attorney or an attorney that handled some traffic matter, right? Like that's typically the attorneys we know. And anyone can do a power of attorney. Law is kind of tricky. It's not like, I might be going to someone who is a cardiologist to take care of my foot, but I don't know that they're a cardiologist because they're a lawyer, and lawyers have no expertise or specialties in terms of licensing. Any lawyer can do anything except patent law, which, besides that, anyone can do. So my point is, it's not just enough to go to a lawyer to do a power of attorney and to have one, but you want to go to the right lawyer. And how do you know it's the right lawyer? I don't know the answer to that, except what I tell people is you want to go to a lawyer that's actually putting these things into effect. So a lawyer that is, if I'm going to use it when somebody's disabled, I'm going to go to a lawyer that is handling elder law, Medicaid, tax planning, trust planning, and say, does this power of attorney give me the authority to do everything I might need to do? Because otherwise, you don't know what you're doing. There's other provisions in there that are really important. Particularly now, there's something called a qualified income trust. Has anyone heard of it? So even if we run out of money and we're in a beautiful facility that's willing to keep us here and take us on Medicaid, we have to become Medicaid licensed. And some people, even if they are broke, based on their income level, will never be Medicaid licensed because their income is too high. But New Jersey recognizes that the cost of care is usually way more than our income. So why disqualify somebody because they make $1 too much? So there's a new mechanism that is called it's not new, it's about 10 years old. It's called a qualified income trust, where we can qualify our income as being medically necessary. Sounds complicated, really not complicated at all. But if a person's disabled and we need to do it for them, the power of attorney has to say we have a right to do this for them. That is one of the hot powers, that if it's not in there, you can't do it. I think we've done 10 to 15 guardianships over the last 2-3 months, just because the power of attorney didn't allow the person to go open a qualified income trust, which is such a waste of money. Like I said, I think there's nothing wrong with making money as long as you're doing good for people. And this is something that is just a really annoying, hard, long process that could have been avoidable had we done the right thing at the right time. So I'm trying to give you information on things that most people don't know about, because I don't want to bore you with all the stuff that everybody knows. But any questions about that, about financial power of attorneys?
Not too long ago, we left one of the Care One facilities, illegal like that, and he suggested that I'm gonna do you a favor, have someone call you to apply for Medicaid, ICAD. I said, what? So I thought it was kind of strange, like, not, why would you, unless you do something about me, which he didn't. I thought it was kind of strange to make that offer. And someone did call me and I said, no, I'm not interested. Why would someone go that route?
Why would somebody try to connect you with someone, or why would someone go on Medicaid?
Why would someone connect me without me making a request?
Maybe they're trying to be helpful. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, good question. I don't know too.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of strange.
Yeah. sometimes in this world, we are not used to people being kind. So when people are kind, we're very suspicious. You sound like a New Yorker.
I wouldn't mind if he just threw the money on the table and that would have been the end of it.
Sometimes you get different benefits through Medicaid, so maybe they were trying to help you, allow you to, if you qualify for it.
Well, obviously, you know, I didn't even go that route, but I thought it was strange.
I don't
That's
know.
all.
So we can hear all of Kim's wisdom. I'll just quickly go over medical power of attorneys, which are really important. You also don't have a right to make a decision on somebody else's behalf in terms of medical decisions unless they have given you that right. How do you give somebody that right? It's a medical power of attorney, also known as a healthcare proxy. Our medical power of attorney includes a few different things. One of them is a healthcare proxy where you're appointing the person. One of them is also an advance directive or a living will. What do these things mean? Well, the healthcare proxy is the person you designate in New Jersey. It should be one person. You can't designate two like you can with finance. Medical should be one. You could say one and then the other and list, 10 of your children, but it's one at a time. An advance directive or a living will is where you say, well, this is when I consider myself alive and this is when I would consider myself dead. And if there is a situation where A, B, or C, what are A, B, or C? I'll get to that in a minute. Then I even authorize this person to discontinue artificial means of living and let me go in peace without a court order. Anyone remember the Terry Schiavo case? Kind of. So we have somebody who is in a coma and one family member is saying, take her off life support, and another family member is saying, keep her on life support. So what do the doctors do? Nothing. They're not going to listen to anyone because nobody has any authority without that piece of paper. Now, if while they're waiting for this, because the person's not competent, she can't sign anymore, we need guardianship, a court order, and the courts take a really long time to do anything, even when everything is simple. Everyone has agreed and consented and submitted. Now, if there's two people disagreeing, which in this case there was, by the time you go through all the court cases and the trials and the appeals, it could be years. We've had contested guardianships go on for years. And in the meantime, the person keeps getting juiced up and are living in a way that they would not have wanted to live. So in my world, you can do two things. One is write a piece of paper that says who gets to make that decision. Number two, under what's the maximum power you want to give that person in terms of how to discontinue artificial means of living. In my world, where you're not being counseled by a doctor, you're not answering medical questions, you're giving a license of authority to somebody to make those decisions. The most authority you can give someone is if I am terminally ill, if I am permanently unconscious, or if I have an incurable or irreversible illness and I am not able to communicate anything, and two doctors are signing off on one of those prongs, then I even allow this person to discontinue artificial means of living and let me go in peace. That is different than other forms that are available now, where you have to be counseled by a doctor. There are two forms that I get asked about the most. One is a DNR. Anybody know what a DNR is? Do not resuscitate. It's not for everyone. It's for somebody who already has something going on where even in an emergency situation, we're not resuscitating this person. That has to be done through your physician because it's a doctor's order. All right. Alongside of that, facilities are requiring now what's called a POLST, a physician's order of life-sustaining treatment. These are amazing. It's usually a green form. If anyone's seen one, they go into some really good detail that you are, again, counseled by your physician, signed by your doctor because it's an order, where you talk specifically about what kinds of things you would want and what you don't want, which I think, it's very different than a DNR, but back in the day, people just used the DNR and it was, what if I'm choking when it has nothing to do with my illness? Why are you not resuscitating? So this can kind of go into, I may want antibiotics, but I may not want IV fluids and so on and so forth. And that's a physician's order of life-sustaining treatment. Again, you gotta talk to your doctors I get asked about it all the time and I tell people to contact their doctors.
Who keeps all this paperwork? The attorney?
No,
Is it centralized? In other words,
not centralized.
it's
But-
not.
I think it's a really good idea. I think you should write to the congressman and say, we need some sort of central information system. It's not centralized, however, if you are in a facility, I'm sure that those systems are centralized, right?
Yes, we keep copies.
I mean, we have wills and people have them, and if you don't know who the attorney is and they don't find my will,
Yeah, we don't keep documents for that reason.
That's what this document is.
oh, that's what this is, but right now, without this,
You're gonna write it in.
they
this
don't have
booklet.
to either figure out where the attorney is, if he has a copy,
Yeah,
or if your copy didn't get destroyed in a fire.
yeah, if it
Correct.
gets destroyed in a fire, you need to re-sign it.
Okay,
I just want to speak to the.
I'll
full
use the wrong word about fire, but, so these documents, guess you better keep them in a safe place and
Yeah.
tell your loved ones where they are.
Yes.
Right.
That's the most important thing is
That's
communicate
part
with
of
your
this 5
family.
wishes is in there.
The one thing I wanted to add as a paralegal, besides being in healthcare, is that it's my understanding that the Pulse form is a universal form that's recognized in all 50 states. That's why that form is always on green paper. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
So that's
Feel you
something that people
throw
should
up?
maintain.
Fine, just
Even if you
relax
look-
on it.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
doubt you.
And also, it's
All right.
advisable to put it on the refrigerator with a magnet, just like with a DNR, so that God forbid, your loved one falls on the floor and you need to call 911 to come. They usually go there to know what the wishes are of the patient.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You should also revisit these things every couple of years. You never want to just do them and forget about them, so.
Right.
Every time you revisit, give people some copies. Any other questions about that? Maybe we'll hold questions till the end anyway, so we can segue into the 5 wishes first.
Yeah, so hi everybody, my name is Kim. I am with Ascends Healthcare and I do hospice and palliative care, and I also discuss the 5 wishes. So you can also chime in anytime. So what Maurice is talking about is absolutely very, very, very important, right? So you always want to make sure that you choose somebody to make decisions on your behalf in the event something happens to you and you can no longer do that. So I myself have gone through this 5 wishes document, and just for 1 second. So the 5 wishes are, who is the person that you're going to choose to make decisions on your behalf when you can or cannot do that? I could walk out this door today, I could get hit by a car, boom, all of a sudden, I can't decide for myself anymore. I do have children. I do, because I'm in the industry, communicate pretty much every day what I want done and what I don't want done, so it just penetrates through their mind and they know how to take care of me. But unless, you write it down and you choose somebody specifically, then people can't make decisions on your behalf. And I'll give you one example. So I was with my parents and my dad was getting all of his information put together, and this is right after COVID, and he has listed myself and my brother as power of attorney. My brother and I have different views. So my father was hospitalized and he had a heart issue, and he came out and we're sitting around the table. My father went to the bathroom and he's like, he is not getting that vaccine again. Never, never, never. That is the sole reason why he went into the hospital. And so my dad came back out and I said, well, how do you feel about getting that vaccine? I want it, and I absolutely want to get this done, and I'm going to continue to do it. And so that's when my brother went to the bathroom. I said, "You sure you want him to be your power of attorney?" Because he is going to decide what he wants done for you, not what you want done for you. So that just a big light went on. And I do work with families that have children. They're very, very, very close, but they have their next door neighbor as their power of attorney because their children have different views. Their neighbor knows them very well. They made their wishes. They made a pact that if something happens to me, yes, I will abide by your wishes. So it's good to have it. It's good to talk to your family members. You don't want to get into a situation where somebody asks you, we've done this before. I've been with a family where a patient was unresponsive. Patient was still full code, which means they never signed a DNR, they never signed a DNI or a DNH. So the patient had one child that was only about 20 years old, and staff was pounding on him. You need to sign the DNR, you need to sign this. And so the only thing I did is said, if your mom can get up right now and look at you, what would she say? He said, I have no idea. So that's another reason. Make sure you communicate with your family, make sure you choose the right power of attorney. This 5 wishes are a very, very simple book to go through. You can choose your power of attorney, and then, if something happens to that person, you can choose somebody else. The next wish is, what type of medical treatment do you want for yourself? You can list that specifically. How comfortable do I want to be? Do you want to be, do you want certain medications used, or do you not want any medications at all? We work with families that absolutely won't allow any medications, which is kind of an awful thing. I couldn't relate to that, but that's the way they live and that's their wishes. So everything you can document here, and what do you want your loved ones to know is another wish that you have in here. So you can list everything out. You have 2 people sign it. They cannot be family members. 2 people sign it as witnesses. And then this becomes a document that is valid, correct? So it's valid as a medical power of attorney. So you keep this with you. You can fill it out. You could leave a copy of it in your chart if your family member is here, if you're doing it for them, or if they're doing it for themselves. Or you leave it at home. So I filled mine out. I showed my kids. Something happens to me, it's in a folder. You can get it from there. But it's very, very, very simple. You don't have to go through a lawyer to do this. And if you decide, you change your mind, you're still with it, everything's wonderful in your life, and you're like, you know what? I don't want that person to be my power of attorney anymore. Or, you know what? I changed my mind. I want to be on medication. I don't want to go out and suffer and be in pain. You rip it up, you fill out another one, and it's valid. So that's the simple part of the 5 wishes. So what I'm also going to do is introduce hospice and palliative care. So how many people, when they hear the word hospice, they're like, oh, death is near, right? I mean, and I will tell you, if I got the phone call myself, we want to put your family member on hospice, like, what? Because it's automatically in your mind, that means they're going to pass away. So the name needs to be changed. Things have changed significantly from when hospice came about. Hospice is end-of-life care, that is true. A doctor will write an order. The doctor has to foresee that a patient must be living with a terminal illness. If that terminal illness takes its progressive course, they will have 6 months or less to live. But there's no way of determining how that disease is going to progress. Yes, their experienced doctors might be able to foresee in their mind what they think. That's why some doctors wait until the last minute, because they think maybe things will change based on their experience. If a patient has cancer, end-stage cancer, you've already seen them declining, that kind of will move within what the doctor's saying. But you've heard people say, oh, the doctor gave me 6 months. I've been around for 3 years now. So
5 minutes, we'll leave it.
it can go on for as long as you need it. And in today's world, in my days, we have patients on for 2 years. We have many patients that are getting better and coming off of service. So if you have a loved one that that is declining, and they were diagnosed with a terminal illness, or they are at a point in their life where maybe they're going to be 99, 100, and they're just weak and fragile. They're becoming more bedbound, they're starting to eat a little bit less, they're just tired. You can do an evaluation in hospice. There's something called adult failure to thrive. Medicare does not use those words anymore, but our nurses will go in and look at different lab work and see what's going on. Things start to slow down a little bit. We prove to Medicare that there's been, a slow decline, and we can get them on service. So hospice is actually something that is very beneficial for patients and families. And I do this all the time. When I get the phone call, they're like, what? And I was like, let's just take away the word. Take that word, throw it out the window. Let's just talk about comfort services. Okay, now that sounds much better, right? So that's all it is comfort services. Hospice doesn't do anything to speed up the process of the disease. They don't do anything to slow down the process of the disease. They meet the patients where they are, and they make sure they're comfortable and their symptoms are being managed. So agitation, can't sleep at night, not moving their bowels, pain. Pain is a big one. All of those symptoms, they're there to manage. And the hospice team has to work directly with a physician. They can't just come in, they say they're very, very experts at what they do, but they make their recommendations to a physician who has to be in agreement and signs off on it. And then things change every day. You may have heard that, oh yeah, my loved one was on hospice, they came in, they gave her the morphine, and boom, they were gone. Does that happen? Yes. The reason it happens is because the doctors were still trying to fight for the patient and not letting go of their treatment, and waits until the last minute, and we get the call, we'd like to refer this patient for hospice. We get the patient is actively dying already. So now when that patient's actively dying, there's a lot of things that can go on when they're nearing the end. They can look like they're struggling. They can start to be gasping for air. Their arms can be going up and about. And if you're a family member surrounded by your loved one, it creates anxiety. It's an uncomfortable thing to watch, and it's something that you're going to remember, right? So they do give the morphine. And morphine, what it does, it opens the lungs up more. It helps the breathing pattern so they're not gasping for air. They're breathing calmly. They're breathing slowly. And they're still, with or without the morphine, their time is their time. But this time they transition peacefully. So what we even have to educate the staff and the nurses in the facilities, and they know, they've studied medication, right? We have to educate them that the amount of morphine that's given to any patient on hospice is not going to kill them. It's the same amount of morphine that's given to pediatric patients that come out of surgery. So we've gotten requests from families, can you increase it? Can you increase it? Because they're tired of waiting around. No, we cannot do that. We don't push things faster. We will not do that. And our nurses aren't going to lose their license or get arrested for anything like that. The other thing with hospice is families have full control. So if you decide, okay, I'd like to try this out, and what you're trying out is a whole set of team, a team that will come in, a nurse that will manage symptoms. We have a social worker that is there to support emotionally, right? If you're having difficulty with understanding Medicare, Medicaid, paying for where you are, you need to maybe go home, you don't know how you're going to care for your loved one at home, that's where our social worker comes in, gives you different options, supports you through those options. A home health aide is sent to help with personal care for a couple hours a day. There is a clinical chaplain involved. That clinical chaplain is there if you are a spiritual person and your loved one would like a visit from the chaplain. They will do that. They can provide spiritual support, but you have the option to say, no, I don't want them walking in there. That's fine. They're dressed in plain clothes. They could provide companionship. If they're a veteran, we work with the veterans programs, so we can get you some extra benefits through that. We have veteran volunteers. So when a veteran is nearing end of life, it's nice to have a veteran to veteran connection. So we can send veterans in. We partner with a lot of other companies. If you need additional home health care, we have some other companies here that we can refer to help. This is all helping the family, all helping the loved one to get home. So with hospice, Medicare covers it 100%. All the medical equipment is included, hospital bed, wheelchair, bedside commode, over the bed table, oxygen, fall mat, anything that you need make sure that the patient is safe is covered and sent to the home or wherever the patient may be. And what you should also know is that, like I said, you're not locked into it. It takes 2 seconds to make a phone call and say, I don't want this anymore. We send you a form, you sign off on it. People say, well, I don't want to go to I don't want to be on hospice because I heard you can't go to the hospital anymore. Well, just remember one thing, there's no words that say you can't. When you're on hospice, you can do whatever you want. This is your life, this is your loved one, this is your choice, right? So yeah, there are certain things, and sometimes the nurses might say, well, no, you're not supposed to go to the hospital. The goal is for us to help you so you don't have to go to the hospital. Hospice will take care of everything. If you get an infection, you're running a high fever, oh my God, I gotta call 911. No, you call hospice. They will come, they will treat with antibiotics. Those antibiotics don't work, call the doctor, we change the antibiotic, we treat with a different antibiotic. That's not working, call the doctor, we just keep changing and tweaking it. It's like making a bowl of soup. So we do support and care and fix things that aren't working, difficulty breathing, you're gasping for air. We increase the oxygen, or we'll work with some medications with the oxygen that help them. So all of this is about so the patient is comfortable and they're not suffering. You can leave the home. I know that people in this area have a lot of beach houses, so I always tell patients, sometimes I meet with the patients, they sign on for themselves. And I'm like, what do you want to do? I want to go to Atlantic City. I'm like, go to Atlantic City. If you can get yourself out there and you get a ride, our doctor will clear, and the doctor clears you to travel. We'll send you portable oxygen if you need. We'll make sure that you're all ready to go. We'll put our team up on alert in that area because we go through the state of New Jersey. But you don't have to feel like you have to be confined. There are those patients that are still mobile, still getting out. But they do have a diagnosis, and it is terminal, and it's not curable, and they're not treating it anymore. So they meet the criteria, they can stay on service with us. And we have one patient that's been on for 3 years, and I will tell you that she signed on herself. She likes the services so much that every time, so you have to be recertified after the first certification is 90 days. After 90 days, as long as you're still showing a decline and we can still prove to Medicare that you need the service, it continues on and on and on. Some patients start to get better though. So, hospice meets a couple of times a month, the whole team with the medical director to discuss the patients, because you don't want any Medicare fraud, just to make sure that they're still meeting criteria. This one patient, well, she's starting to eat more, she's starting to put on weight, she's sitting up, she's expressing herself more. But the week before certification comes, she'll start looking at the wall and she'll stop eating. And then we put her back on service, and boop, she's back again and she's doing well. This has been going over and over for 3 years now she's been on. So that's my story. I always use her as my story. So, and also like with our company, we also have a clinical music therapist. So it's not a volunteer who comes in and just sings. He does have a guitar, does sing, but it's very clinical. He works to patients may have not spoken before. Sometimes they're able to speak again. Distracts pain, agitation. He's very, very, very good. And we have a massage therapist that is on staff. And not everyone has the massage therapist, so this is kind of new, but it is good because some nurses should be able to do that, work with patients that have some edema or swelling or lymphedema. They'll give them massages, and just everything is about comfort, right? So when patients are unresponsive, they can still hear. So I speak with families too, and I tell them about all the whole staff that we have, the whole team, and Their answer is, why would we need that? They're just laying there. They don't speak. They're not responsive. We don't need a whole team. They can hear. Our team will sit with them. They will speak to them. They'll call you to get to know, tell me about your loved one. What did they like? Where did they come from? What did they do when they were younger? Certain type of music or something they can play for them. Our music therapist would do the same thing. Tell me a little bit about them. Let me try to, bring in some memories for them. Certain smells they can still smell. And touch, when it comes to the end, touch is the most important because, think about it. If you can't see and you close your eyes and you're not feeling well, when someone's holding your hand, right? A family member. When it's a warm hand holding you, that it's a familiar hand, and it's comforting. It kind of can, makes it feel like you're taking a deep breath because you know that there's somebody there. They can still feel that too. So that's really what it's about.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure I'm missing a few things, but the other thing I will tell you is you might hear the difference between hospice and palliative care. Hospice is palliative care because the word palliative means comfort, right? But there is a service that is just strictly palliative care, which we can do only in nursing homes and assisted livings. We can't do it in the home because there's not enough nurse practitioners to keep going back and forth. So what palliative care is it's a physician-driven program. So a nurse practitioner will come and speak with the family. She will assist with getting the pulse signed. If you don't have the pulse signed, she will sit down, review the clinicals with of what's going on with the patient, discuss them with the family, review the pulse, really make sure the family understands what the DNR is. Because a lot of times, if you're not involved in this kind of situation, you watch TV, of course I'm going to want to be resuscitated because, it works and they pop up and they'll come back to life. It's not how it works. So the physician's assistant or the nurse practitioner is one to communicate and really, really explain what happens when they do that. So it's helpful for the facilities, it's helpful for the family, and the patient can still be treating any aggressive disease. So if they have cancer and they're doing chemotherapy, maybe they're losing a lot of weight, they could probably benefit from the palliative care nurse practitioner, but she will also make recommendations to manage their symptoms. It's not a team, it's one person that will come in. Probably it's about every other week. If the patient is in bad shape, they may come a little bit more, but they're not staffed to be coming all the time. So that's it. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Maurice or for Kim with regards to the booklet? Definitely take it home, review it. Go ahead.
So we have a medical power of attorney and a financial power of attorney over my mom, who's pretty much doesn't say a normal word ever. She still has her own, her name is still on her checking accounts and stuff. Should we not have, should her name not be on that going forward? Should we be changing that also?
You want to keep the account in her name.
Okay.
However, if you take the financial power of attorney and you bring it to the financial institution to add you on as POA, you become like an authorized user on the account.
Okay.
But it's not yours. So
Right.
It still stays in mom's name. You're just the
I might have that already. I'm not sure. I have to check.
Sometimes you can tell by the statement that comes
Yeah.
in the mail. Some banks will actually put it right on. It'll say,
Okay.
Mary Smith POA. That's important. A lot of times the banks will tell you, just be on as a joint owner. It gives you access. It gives you control. Do not do that. That is different. You want to be on as a power of attorney, not as a joint owner.
Okay.
Because things really can go haywire when you do that. For example, number one, if there's any sort of 1099s coming out of that account, you're going to be 1099 if you become the owner. Number two, if she passes, it may no longer be the dispositive provisions of what she intended, the beneficiary or the the will it will be overruled if if we change the owner.
Okay,
We had a case recently where granddaughter lived next to grandma. Grandma loved to cash her social security check, put the money in the envelope and spend it. Like some people still live like that. So granddaughter would walk with, she was a stay-at-home mom. She'd walk grandma over to the bank. The bank person said, why, it's cold out. Like, why don't you just get on as joint owner? She got on as joint owner. At the time, there was only 10 grand in that account. Granddaughter came on as joint owner. Then grandma declined, moved into a facility. Grandma sold her home. Those proceeds all went in that account. Grandma dies. Her will said everything goes to her 2 sons. Now, unfortunately, everything, including the proceeds of her entire estate, goes to the granddaughter. Now, in this case, granddaughter was a very nice, honest, kind person who said, "This is not my money," which you never, for the caretaker to be saying that is a whole very rare. But anyway, granddaughter says, "This isn't my money. It's my uncle's and my dad's. I want to give it to them." She's in the middle of a divorce. So, ex-husband in process ends up having a right to that because now inheritance is not subject to equitable distribution. That's a different thing. But point is, you might end up with a different intention. So you
Okay.
don't want to
So
get on
don't-
there by accident.
Okay.
Keep grandma on.
okay, perfect.
And if she runs out of money or she needs any VA benefits or Medicaid benefits, they'll treat that as a gift. So that's
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else with any questions? Any has a question? Well, thank you guys. Thank you for, definitely pass this, talk to your family and friends about this 5 wishes.
Yeah.
It's important for everybody to look into, so this document can, what your wishes, your thoughts. Go
So
ahead.
not really a question, more of a comment. This 5 wishes actually really came in handy because for years, my grandmother, she refused to complete a pulse with the doctor and she refused to go to the